Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Tiger Talk this month. This month, Mr. Brian Jones from the high school is with me. We're going to talk about some Term 1 test results. We've talked a lot in the last few months about all the successes we're seeing in the schools and some things to meet individual student needs. And Brian recently shared this presentation with the school board about some data. Brian spends a lot of time looking at data at this high school and looking at how our students are doing. So looking specifically at how our Term 1 results from this year compare to past years and talking about our student demographics, how they've changed over the years, ties in the conversation we've had with referendum recently as we talked about student success at the high school. So we'll get to that in just a couple minutes. But like we do every month, I want to share just a few updates from across the district. I mentioned the referendum that recently we held that election. Unfortunately, the referendum did not pass, so that's something that now we're working forward as a district is what we do with that. We are working on those budget reductions that we talked about earlier this fall, and we've been talking about since last spring, that were the result of a failed referendum. So we're looking at nearly $2 million in cuts in our budget. That will happen for the coming school year. So staff that are with us will finish out this year, and then there will be significant changes. As many as 29 staff members could be impacted before that next school year. So some serious decisions about where we're at and how we're going to move forward with that reduction in budget, but certainly need to still balance our budget without increased revenue. That means we have to decrease expenses. So that's work that's taking place right now in the district. I just want to share as we navigate those changes together, I really want to express gratitude to the community in general for overall support of Marshall Public Schools. We are committed and we continue to be committed to providing an exceptional learning opportunity for all of our students. That's something that we'll hold to at every site. Just how we're going to do that is going to look different going forward. We have some challenges lie ahead of us, but I am confident that through all of the work and collaboration amongst our staff and with community members, we have a lot of great community partners, we're going to continue to make sure that all of our students are successful and do well and are prepared for success in the future. That's our mission, that's our overall goal, and that's what we'll continue to focus on at all of our sites as we move forward. A few highlights from every site then. Parkside, they share that recently they had their attendance and Tiger Pride celebration. We had end of quarter recently, so a lot of those celebrations tie into that. At Parkside, part of their initiatives this year include a celebration where they're giving away some bikes. They're partnering with a bike shop, and they had 2 students that received some bikes for outstanding attendance. So attendance is a goal at all of our sites, and sometimes a little extra initiative helps students to keep that a focus. So that was a fun event there. The bike awards, that's part of that is tied to a grant project through Lyon Murray County Families Project Collaborative. So we had a kindergartner and a first grader that both brought bikes home at the end of the year. So that was at the end of that quarter. So that was a fun event. Also at Parkside, looking beyond just that daily attendance, talking about chronic absenteeism. So students missing 10% or more of the school year. That's a piece of data you'll hear us talk about a lot going forward at all of the sites. At Parkside, for the first quarter, we're looking at about 7.5% of students across the building with that chronic absenteeism. That's a significant difference from where we ended last year. We were just over 13% last year. So we'll monitor that every quarter as we go through and look at where we're at. And we're starting the quarter off strong at really all of our sites. That data is looking good. So that was Parkside's report on that part. We recently had a book fair as well at Parkside. That was early in November. We had part of the event was we invited visitors to come in and have lunch with students at the school. We had over 100 people each day, so certainly exciting for the kids to get to bring mom and dad into lunch and then to do the book fair, that kind of stuff. So a little extra excitement, and not that the Parkside cafeteria ever lacks excitement. It's always busy. Brian, remember having kids at Parkside and doing that lunch? As a parent, it's something you do because the kid's face lights up, but yeah. It was fun for those few days, but I think staff were also glad when it was able to get back to some regular routine with the kids in the lunchroom too. Also want to share with community members, Turkey Bingo is coming up again this year. That's on November 21st. That happens at 5 p.m. in the Parkside cafeteria. We've had some turkeys and prizes donated from local individuals and businesses. It's open to anyone, so you can stop in. I think it's $5 for a bingo card, and there's food available and stuff. It's always a fun evening, so encourage people to stop by and check out Turkey Bingo at Parkside. Southview this month, Peter, the principal, really wanted to highlight one individual this month, Samantha Downing Fisher. She recently, she's only been at Southview for a couple of years, and this year she's taking on a new role. She's our instructional coach at Southview. She's really done a nice job helping lead assessment coordination, progress monitoring, and just helping staff with that work taking place around the READ Act and meeting individual student needs, making sure we're measuring where our students are at, looking at data, and then how do we use that data to drive what's happening with the students in the classrooms. And she's done a really nice job, so I want to say thank you to Sam for all of her work there. At Marshall Middle School, a lot of things taking place. A couple highlights this year. Some academic teams. We talk a lot about our athletic teams. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute, Brian, because we've had an exciting fall with our athletic teams. But our academic teams at middle school off to a great start as well. We have knowledgeable. We have four knowledgeable teams at the middle school this year. They recently attended one of their first competitions, and the teams placed second, third, fourth, and sixth. There were 27 teams, so all of them did very well in the competition. Our mathletes, that's the middle school math team, they always do very well. They have 5 teams this year, so a number of students in it. They earned placements from 4th to 14th out of 16 different teams at a recent competition they were at. So our academic teams are shining as well in middle school, certainly trying to find activities for all students to keep all students engaged. And we know that students, the more engaged they're in school, the better they perform overall, and the better their attendance is, and all those things are so great for our students. So it's fun to see success in so many different areas. Middle school also recently had a end of quarter celebration. They have a PBIS team. They celebrate positive Tiger traits. At middle school, that's respect, responsibility, and pride. This quarter, they held a costume relay race. So imagine middle schoolers in the gym racing back and forth across the gym in a relay race where they had to put on a piece of a costume at each half or something like that. And they had a lot of fun with that. So those little things can really get kids more excited about what's going on in school. High school, some academic performance. Brian's going to talk about this in the presentation just a little bit here, but we concluded term 1 with some excellent student achievements. We're going to talk specifically about that and just how over time the work that our teachers are doing, they're really doing a great job at all of our sites, but it accumulates at the high school. We're talking about, we really look at graduation rates and student success there, but that quarterly passing rates in classes is a big measure for how we look at how our students are doing. And some success as our demographics really change. It's some good data we're going to look at. So we'll dig more into that in just a minute here. Also want to highlight the Honor Society. They had a blood drive recently at the high school. We had 56 students donate blood during the annual Red Cross drive. Many of those for the first time. We know that once they donate once, they're more likely to donate again. So it's fun to have them come in and get that opportunity right at the high school, a little more comfortable location, and get them familiar with what that looks like. So hopefully they'll continue to give blood in the future to help out those that need that. We also had a Veterans Day assembly, really all of the sites, but I want to highlight the high school one. We honored Veterans Day with a special program. We featured Lieutenant Colonel Joe Arrington. He's a decorated combat veteran who shared experiences with high school kids. It was a great event, certainly a great speaker for the kids, and it was good to get to have that conversation on our veterans at the high school. At our ALC and our CTI centers, we have some increased passing rates there. Our ALC, our Alternative Learning Center, that's a location for students who are not successful in the traditional high school and they're not on track for graduation. So we look at things a little differently at that site and how we're helping those students succeed. And certainly passing rates look different there, but we're encouraging all students to be successful, and just how we meet those needs looks different there. But we're a lot of great work taking place there this year. We have a new assistant principal out there this year who's really digging into some things, different perspective on how we're addressing some student needs. We're seeing passing rates improving about 7% from where we were a year ago, so some great increases there. And our chronic absentee rates, that's a conversation that site. These tend to be students who struggle more to come to school and be consistent with their attendance at school. Staff has worked really hard in creating some incentives and some more intentional conversation on attendance, and we're seeing some decreased chronic absentee rates at that site as well, so good to see that. With our CTI center, that's our new center out on Highway 59. Students are taking those advanced level courses. With small engines classes, welding classes. We're looking at advanced techniques like TIG welding, stainless steel pipe, bringing some community speakers in. That is such a fun location. I encourage anyone who wants to learn more about that, reach out and talk to us. Certainly like community partners within businesses and such there, and really those kids getting that real life, hands-on experience and thinking about what future career opportunities exist for them. It's been a great program, certainly been seeing a lot of success with our students at that site too. Some more of those students who maybe the traditional high school path or some of the traditional high school classes might not be their favorite thing, but these classes were really connecting to kids and getting them excited about school, so that's been great. Brian, I'm going to pull you into this one just a little bit. Let's talk about activities, because it has been a fun fall. Again, we've had great teams. Last year we had 18 teams participate in state tournaments. This fall, we have had all sorts of success: cross-country, volleyball, football, girls swimming. We've had 130 student athletes represented this fall. A couple highlights you want to share with that?
Sure, I'll jump in here. Activities, we often talk about our activities are the front porch of our school system. And by that, we mean that's what a large number of community members that's the only thing they see is what's going on within our activities program. And we know there's a lot more sort of in our house beyond just that front porch. But just a great season. Our volleyball team won the state championship, fourth time in the last 5 years.
Coach Westby does a great job.
10th overall, more than any other volleyball program in the state by a few state championships.
Yeah.
Football had a great season.
Great run.
They took on a new schedule. The state, for those who don't know, the state places for football, they place schools and they develop that schedule. So we were placed in a new section of the state. We traveled as far north as Fergus Falls. We were in the metro area a few times. And so it was a tough schedule. From our regular season, 3 of the 8 teams that we played were in the state playoffs. And so our student athletes went undefeated in the regular season. Unfortunately, got beat on the last second play.
An amazing
the state
game at that
semifinal. Yeah. And so disappointing, and to be that close, and so certainly all of our kids, all of our coaches fans would have liked to taken that next step. But if anyone would have said at the beginning of the season you're going to go 11-1 and be in the state semifinals, I don't think anyone in the program, in the school, in the community would have been disappointed. And
we had a lot of conversation about that change in schedule and how far we're going to travel, which is a struggle. But certainly the increased competition, we knew it was going to be great for our kids, and they stepped up and exceeded just in a way that we didn't anticipate.
Absolutely, and so just kudos to those 2 programs. But on the individual side, we just had one of our 9th grade students finish in the top 10 at state swimming in their event. We had Sam Dietz made it to the state in cross country. 2 of our females made it to the state. Caitlin Liefried's a junior, and so just really a good showing, well-rounded by our activities. For folks who are in town this weekend, I want to give a shout out to, we have our fall musical.
Hadestown.
Hadestown at Marshall High School. That starts Friday night, the 21st, runs Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So if people are around and want to see, they've described it to me as kind of a rock opera, so I'm kind of curious to see exactly what that'll be. But just
modern day Greek mythology is my understanding of the story. I don't know the story, but
But it's just another opportunity to showcase all the talent that we have with our students at Marshall High School. So fall's an exciting time, and this year certainly has been no exception. A very exciting fall, and here we're just days away from Thanksgiving, and it goes fast.
Yep, winter season has already started, so kids got done with the fall seasons. Those football boys, they're up at state tournament on Friday, or Thursday, Friday, and then Monday they practice starts for winter stuff.
Back at it. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. All right, one last update from the sites I want to share before we move on. Some safety and security things. Just we do so many different things in the schools, and recently a grant has provided an opportunity for us to do a digital mapping within our schools. We're partnering with Geocom to create detailed digital maps of all of our district facilities. These maps will include key assets like fire extinguishers, AEDs, entry points, things that we can share with local law enforcement and really help enhance our emergency response. All fully funded by a grant program. I kind of picture it like the Google Maps. You've seen the cars drive around town where they Google map your streets, and you can plug in just on a electronic device and ask how to get someplace or where something's at. Very slick, very handy. So it's going to be like that type of a map of our buildings to have that accessible to our emergency responders and to our staff or different things. So program that we're excited to be a part of and hope to get that completed throughout the year, the remainder of this year. All right, Brian, let's talk about these Term 1 results. So you called and shared this with me a while back, and I know you've shared with your staff, and then we had you come and talk to the school board. I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to run this a little bit different rather than usually we just do a Q&A.
Sure.
But today I'm going to have you just kind of walk through and share this presentation with the community too, because there's some really great things happening. And I think not beyond just how great the results are, looking at the demographic changes too, which really gives a different perspective to what's happening and how big this data is. So,
Well, thanks for having me and making time. So in our high school, we're on a quarter system, so 4 quarters, 4 terms, and at the end of term 2 is semester 1, and at the end of term 4, quarter 4 is semester 2. And so some of those classes last for the full semester. But on our block schedule, many of our classes last for only 9 weeks, and so that's a quarter or a term. And so we're looking at this information every single week. We are posting that every 3 weeks. We're communicating with parents every 3 weeks about how their children's progress and how their grades are doing. And so, but really term one is kind of that first official marker. And so what we did was we looked at those results, and when I got the call and they said, hey, they look really good, we were excited, and so we took a look at them. So I'm excited to get to share those with you and our community, and really does speak to the work that our students in grades 9 through 12 have been doing. But it also speaks to the work that our staff, and you mentioned earlier, what we're talking about, yes, I'm very proud of our high school staff and the work they've done, but those teachers in pre-K, those parents are the first teachers. They're the ones who have laid that foundation, and so our job is to continue to build on that foundation of our students for the 4 years we have them, so that when they move on to those next steps, whether that be college, a 4-year, 2-year trade school, whether that be entering the workforce, whether they're going in the military, we really look and say our job is to provide students with that solid foundation that they're going to have for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
And the rest of those their careers. So we'll just take a look at some results overall, and I'll move around and kind of highlight some things that we feel good about. So what we have here is just our data table, and so our first row is our graduating class, and so we can see that our 9th graders will graduate in 2029. Our seniors are graduating in 2026 this spring, and so what we do is we look at we take all the teacher grades once they're input, and we start to analyze those a little bit. And so we can see that for our senior class, we had 17 students who had a failing grade, and that they could have been failing more than one class. And we see that those 17 students failed a total of 22 classes. And we've got 208 students in that senior class. And so from there, we just calculate that percentage, and we can see that almost 92% of our seniors were passing all of their classes. Some students have 4 classes a day, others have 5, some have 6. And so one of the things over the last 20 years that we've really tried to do is tailor students' courses to their needs and their supports and what we think works well. And so,
which you get to do more with seniors than freshmen.
We got a little bit more flexibility with our seniors. But what really jumped out to us when we first started looking at this was that for the first time in a long time, all 4 grades, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, all had passing rates above 90%. So we were really excited about that. And so we track and follow those cohorts, how they're doing, and we thought they're off to such a good start. So then the next question was, well, how does this compare? And so since 2005, when we moved into the high school at its current location, I'm not going to call it the new high school anymore, right. But we've kept track of this all of the time. And so when we look at where does this rank, you can see here that this term ranked in the top 10. It ranked as number 10. And so just to give folks a little perspective, 4 quarters a year, we've kept track of this for 20 years. So that's 80 quarters plus now term 1. So that's 81. So in 81, I'll call it marking periods, our students at Marshall High School in 25-26 school year, their performance ranked in the top 10. The other thing that stood out to us, these are all semester grades. And so until this year, and so like I said, about half of our classes currently will continue through the whole first semester. And so this was the highest ranking if we look just at term classes that students have ever done. And so we thought that we were really proud about that. Yeah. At the same time, we had some students who 9% of our students did not pass all of their classes. And so we felt it was important to dig in and look at that. And so we've got 890 students currently at Marshall High School. And so we had 130 students who had a failing grade. And so these next few slides are going to be looking specifically at those students who failed 1 or more classes. And we want to try to understand why and then figure out how we can support them. And we want that number of 130 to come much lower. Yep. And so the first thing we took a look at was looking at those students who are chronically absent. As you mentioned, that's students who miss more than 10% of the school days. And so we had, of our 130 students, we had 73 of them had a failing grade, and they are chronically absent. And so our percentage for our whole school of students who are chronically absent was 15%, which means that almost 16%, 84% of our students have fewer than 10% absences. And so we can see this correlation that says if you miss too much school, you're not going to do as well. Shocker, right?
Yeah.
And so it's important for people to be at school. And so we're always talking with our students how important that is. So the first thing we looked at was chronically absent. And then we just started talking and said...
I just had a question on that previous slide. So that's saying that almost 16% of the kids, about 16% of the kids are missing over 55% of that, or account for almost 56% of those absentees.
So this says, of the 130 students who had a failing grade, 56% of this 130, or 73% of these students, are chronically absent.
And they only account for 16% of our population.
And so what we said is out on this column, how does that compare with our entire student body? And so almost 16% of the 890 have missed 10% or more of the days.
Right.
But of the failing students who had a failing grade, they account for 56% of that 130. They've missed too much school.
Right.
That's what we're saying.
That's significant.
So next thing we wanted to look at was ethnicity. And at Marshall High School, we feel like we are a very diverse community. We're a diverse high school. And so what we wanted to do was just start taking a look and see if we saw any trends there. And we've looked at that. And so we can see, for instance, our largest population, I'm going to start on the right side of the table, would be our students who are Caucasian students, our white students. They represent 60% of our student body, and they were responsible for a third of the failing grades. So 41 students who are considered white are part of the 130. So if we add up this count of race, that would equal 130. And so we can kind of just see there, and we can see that our Hispanic Latino students accounted for a third of the failing grades for term 1, and they represent 15% of our population, almost 16% of our population. So just some things about our ethnicity and how do we work to support all of our students and to help them be as successful as possible. As we started talking, we know that we have seen a growth over the last several years in our population of students where English is not their first language, and we call those multilingual students or English language learners.
Yep. Our fastest growing population.
Our fastest growing population. And so we can see that 37 of we had 37 students who had a failing grade out of the 130. That represents 28%. And they represent almost 12% of our school population. And so, again, conversations around how do we support these students to help them be more successful. We also took a look at students who have an identified disability. And in many cases, these students are in our mainstream classes. And that's our goal. We want to try to get them into those mainstream classes to be with their non-disabled peers as much as possible. And we can see that in this table, we had 39 students who are classified as having a disability, failed one or more classes. So they represent 30% out of this 130 number, and they represent 15% of our overall school population. So kind of just a little twist in that we really tried to dig in and look at those students who, of the 130 who had a failing grade, to try to identify who they are. Yeah. The last category we looked at was just our gender and males versus females. And we have at Marshall High School about 100 more males than females. And we've had that for the last few years. We're seeing with some of those younger classes this better balance. But we can see here that quite honestly, of the 130 students, our males have struggled.
Yep.
And so how do we try to teach differently to help them learn more effectively? And our females have done well. So it's really about a 25-75% split in this population here of the 130 students at the end of term one.
EL and SPED, we have specialized classes and very specific things we're doing, but this isn't probably something we've talked about in the past.
We don't have,
there's no special male class.
No, there's no, and we see, now we have some classes where there's more males than females and just the opposite depending on the nature of the class and students' interests, right?
Yep.
But helping those students be more successful.
Yep.
Well, I do want to take some time and just talk specifically about our ninth grade students because they have blown it out of the water. And so you can see that they had the passing rate of 91.5% for that first 9 weeks. And so how does that compare? That ranks as second all-time. I'm not going to say all-time, but second since 2005.
20 years.
20 years as the second highest term. And so we're just really proud of those ninth grade students and the work of the ninth grade teachers and what they've done to help our students be successful. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Want to talk just a little bit, though, about our school population. And so this is, as of early November, 890 students. And you can see that we have a 40% diversity rate at MHS. And so sometimes we hear where schools say or people say, well, it's hard to teach these kids. Well, they are the kids we've got, and our job is to do the best job we can with them. And so I'm just going to compare that to the 10-11 school year. And the reason I took that is on one of those tables I showed you earlier, that was our all-time highest passing percentage. And so if we take a look back from the 2010-2011 school year, at the end of the first quarter, we had this minority rate of 17%. But we also had 100 fewer students with us. We had 790 students that year.
Versus about 890 now, right?
Versus 890 now. So 100 more students in the building. And you can just see I've highlighted some of these areas. We have 140 Hispanic Latino students now. Back then we had 65. We have over 100 Asian students right now. Back then we had 28. And now we have approximately 65 African American or black students. And these are labels that come from both the state government and federal government. So then I got really curious and thought, I wonder what it was like back in 2005 when our school opened. And so I went back to that data from 2005. Almost the same number of students we have, 890 students. And you can see our demographics, and we were about 13%. And so we've seen this 25% change in our ethnicity at Marshall High School in the last 21 years. So I was just really proud of our students and very proud of our staff for the work they've done. We have more students now who speak a different language than we've ever had, yet we've got more students being more successful than we've had in a long, long time, and especially at that ninth grade level. We know if they get off to a good start in ninth grade, their chances of on-time graduation, having better experiences in high school are just so much better. And so I just wanted to spend some time thanking our staff for the work they've done, thanking our students for the work they've done. And again, this is all grades. We sort of get to enjoy the fruits of everyone else's hard work throughout those years. And so, and our teachers have been willing just to try to do some things differently that we've asked them to do this year. And part of that comes from being able to have enough adults in the school to do and provide those students with support. And quite honestly, that's the concern moving into next year with our referendum not passing, knowing 29 less staff in all levels means larger class sizes, less individualized support for students. And so what we've got to do is try to figure out how can we keep our process going with fewer adults, providing that individualized support for all students to help them be successful.
Yeah, and you mentioned in your last slide, like BAR in particular, which is just an example, but we talk about multi-tiered systems of support, and we look at how we're doing those meeting those individual needs. And that's a conversation. It happens more naturally elementary. High school's made some great strides over the years, but all of our sites are really having a lot of attention to that. I mean, you're absolutely right. It takes more staff to do that, but that work is paying off. And it's most evident at the high school that's our accumulation. That's where we're
Yep.
looking at. Passing classes makes a big difference. You need those credits to graduate. So.
And to people who say, well, I don't understand all that, here's what I'll say. Like, there's a big difference as a classroom teacher having a class of 26 to 27 and being able to meet those needs versus a class of 35,
Yep.
where you might have multiple languages and multiple needs, students with, who have different needs and supports. It's harder for those teachers to get and provide that level of support to every single student. But
Yep.
that's the challenge that we have in front of us.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, I see we've exceeded our time limit, so you did a great job. I think this is great data, certainly something that helps us look at where we're going. We're always using data to look at where have we been, where are we going, how are we going to continue to move forward. So I appreciate all your work with that. I appreciate your digging the data. And it's not just having it to put on a wall, it's having data to use to drive what we do next. I think we talk about data-driven decision making. We use that all the time in the district. This is a great example of that in practice. So thank you for listening this month. Thank you for your time. And again, thank you for all your support at Marshall Public Schools. We'll see you next month on Tiger Talk.